Welcome to Lifted, elevating the game. Assalamu alaikum, everybody, and welcome to episode 17 of the Lifted podcast series. For New York, I understand it has been a while. I understand that a lot of people have been asking for when the next interview is going to drop after the wonderful interview we had with Kizzer Morali. And I get that, we were supposed to have something out in Ramadan, scheduling conflicts, some trips that were made had to be rescheduled, obviously, with some of the things that are happening around the world. And then Ramadan wise, people were just busy. They couldn't make it happen. So I apologize for that, but we're back and it's going to be a frenzy for the next month. And we're going to be releasing podcast after podcast, but I believe that I owed you one. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to recap all the news that has been pretty much covering the entire Ramadan. After Kizzer's interview, we heard so many rumors during Ramadan. Ramadan's just that time, right? You hear so many rumors. New York was coming up. It was 30 days of just mayhem and new things that were happening and, things that you didn't expect, right? Like, teams being formed, teams being, players switching around. And now we finally seem to have, at least for now, a set of teams that are confirmed. I mean, it's a month away, so I highly doubt that's going to change. Maybe a team here, maybe a team there, but the top dogs are there. Whoever's wanted to confirm, whoever has, wanted to come to this tournament has made it possible. And so that's why we're sitting at 31 teams, which is unbelievable. I think our record was 2015, I want to say, or 2018, maybe 28 teams. That record, or 2016, that record's been shattered. But besides that, just, a lot of good teams, a lot of teams that are bringing, 3 teams, 4 teams from each organization. United Stars has 3 teams. Jaffre's have a 4.0, like it's crazy. Orlando obviously has 5 teams confirmed. New York, I think, has 5 teams. I mean, it's Allentown Challengers have 3 teams. It is a lot of teams out there, a lot of organizations bringing teams, a lot of teams, a lot of players wanting to play in this tournament. It's the one. It's the biggest one, and it's always been the biggest one. And if anybody's watching any basketball right now, my Knicks are up 2-0 against the Sixers, and it is the Mecca. It is a frenzy. It is madness, and that is what New York is going to be. It's going to be madness. But when we sit here now and we look at the landscape of everything that has happened, things are changing. Things are, players are up and coming. Players are moving teams. It's just been a lot. And so I wanted to encompass all that and bring that to you and give you some news and notes from around the volleyball world, and also redo my rankings, because I think I did my rankings pretty early. There weren't really rankings per se. It was just who I thought was going to make the top 10, the top 8, or whatever. But now we're going to hone in. We're going to really choose, from my opinion, at least, and my opinion is just my opinion. Could be totally wrong. I don't want to get killed for it. Last time, I know that, some of the Minnesota guys were upset that they were 7th. It didn't mean anything at the time, right? There was no news. We didn't know what was going to happen. Now we understand the landscape. Now we know what's going to happen. Now we know the teams, how they're looking, and for example, Jaffre's, right? They're now split up, right? There's 2.0 and there's OG. So at that time there was only one. So there's a lot of things, a lot of moving parts to think about. And while we're doing all that, I'm gonna make sure to mention, some of the additions and, potential subtractions and whatever it is that has come up in the last month. With that being said, our interview series does continue. This is just an in-between, something to keep you guys going. But next week, inshallah, Sunday, Fayaz, Freddie, Deuji, the last back center who won a championship for New York in 1997, will be joining me. And we're going to run down the road of New York from before 97, pre-97, during 97, post-97. And he's been there, man, through it all. He is a living legend. He is one of my mentors, and I'm honored and privileged to be able to sit down with him and interview him, because I think he has so much knowledge. He is the last standing veteran for New York Union Islanders that still today plays in every practice and will be playing in this tournament. So a lot of love for Freddie, a lot of stuff, good stuff, I think, coming. We're going to talk about Islanders. We're going to talk about all that. It's going to be fun. A little bit of a different perspective of what Riaz and Ali Raza had said back in, 2 years ago when we did the Stanmore interview series for Stanmore Jaffrey's. Don't worry. A couple of days from today, hopefully you'll have another release, and then every week after that, it's going to be one after the other, one after the other, and this is the best time, right? Like it doesn't get better than this. This is the best time for volleyball, and it's going to be amazing. The next month, practices are at its best. You're picking out your outfits, you're getting your jerseys right. It is honestly nothing beats a tournament than the before part of the tournament. The pre-tournament is the best part. Everyone has aspirations, everyone has goals, everyone has things that they want to achieve. You're looking out for players, you're talking about players, there's rumors swirling. I mean, it is the best time. And for this year, it seems like this is the only major that we're going to be playing. I talk about majors and minors all the time. The majors, there's maybe one or two a year. And for now, this is the only one for this year scheduled so far. But that may change. I mean, there's a lot of talks in the works. We'll talk about that after New York, about something at the end of this year. But before we get to that, we talked about Freddie next week, Freddie DOG. We talked about some of the things that are happening. We're going to be talking about some of the things that are happening in volleyball. And I do apologize again for my little hiatus. I had some personal things that were going on. I had a crazy schedule. But here, we're back. And before we continue, a lot of people are asking me about format. A lot of people are asking me about a couple of things about this tournament. Bode's kept a lot of things to his chest. That's Bode. That's how he does it. He likes to keep everything a surprise. But I have had some conversations with him. 31 teams. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot of teams to have to, work around and see what makes sense for everybody. My understanding is kind of similar to what happened last year. I mean, last tournament, 6 pools, possibly 5 teams in each pool, something like that. Or 5 pools, 6 teams. Top 3 go through. I think he wants the top half to play in another round robin, the bottom half to play in a plate round robin. And then we figure it out from there. Don't know if there's a play-in. Don't know if there's a round of 16. My assumption, my understanding as of right now is that it's going to be a top 8 straight. So that's where we're at currently. I do want to mention that there are things that are going to be, from what I heard from my sources in New York, that are brought back from the past. Some things that people have asked for, some things that made New York very different. I can't really go into too much detail, but what I can say is that there might be some hardware on some of your fingers soon. At least if you win, you might get something. With that being said, what I'm gonna do now is probably the most difficult thing I've done. I might get rocked for it. I might get, people might destroy me for it, but it is, something that I feel like needs to be done just to set the precedent and understanding of what the landscape looks like right now. I'm gonna make a top 8, and I'm gonna rank them 8-1. I'm gonna do it, and again, I'm taking all the information I've gotten. I'm taking, the knowledge of the game that I have. My top 8 will be probably different than most people's top 8, but I'm gonna do it based off of, talent historically, and then obviously, what have you done for me lately, right? Recent runs. I mean, I got to look at all these things to make this top 8 seem plausible. Well, if you have a difference of opinion, that's okay. That's the beauty of this game. That's the beauty of this platform. And so, the top 8 is going to be fun. It's going to be a little bit, it's tough. And I'm going to preface this by saying that there were some teams that I left out, and I had to, again, because it's just a stacked tournament, man. This is the cream of the crop. It doesn't get better than this. You win New York, you're the king of volleyball. Your team is the kings, or they're the kings of volleyball. Like, there's no way around it. And that's why there's nothing like a New York tournament. There's nothing like it. And there's never going to be anything like it, in my opinion. Maybe Arcades was one of those tournaments. Man, ever since that hasn't been around. I mean, New York is the one. And Orlando holds great tournaments. Toronto holds great tournaments. There's a lot of great tournaments out there. Speaking of, I'm going to plug this 2025. I know I said nothing in 2024, but 2025, be on the lookout. Van City, is probably going to be announcing their tournament. Man, from what I've heard, there's like some crazy things happening in Vancouver for what's gonna take place. I think next Easter, if I'm not mistaken. If I don't know if Ramadan, but maybe next Memorial Weekend. But one, it's going to be there next early next year, and it's going to be amazing. And the facilities and all that. I mean, I'll let Mehdi do that. I'll let Vancouver talk about that. But what I do know that it's going to be one of the best tournaments probably we've ever been a part of. But going back to New York, I mean the Mecca, the everything you can ask for in a tournament they provide. The best food, the ambiance, the five courts, the round robin, the amount of games, the talent, the ability to watch while you're not playing and know that there's going to be a good game happening. I mean, that's just what makes New York so wonderful. And yeah, I'm a little biased. Yeah, maybe a part of me just believes New York is the best. But that's the place where everyone can meet. You got guys from Stanmore, you got a new team coming, what I'm going to talk about in a second. But guys coming from abroad, guys who maybe are not even playing for their teams abroad, are playing for other people, which I'll mention that as well. But again, I'm going to preface this by saying there were some teams I left out. I'm going to talk about those teams. One being Orlando B, United Stars B. Those are B teams that everyone knows they're capable. They're going to come in and they're going to give everyone a tough time, and they've done that in the past. In Minnesota, United Stars B came in sixth. In Orlando became in second in the round robin. So these are teams that then can beat A teams. I mean, they're that damn good. But I'm gonna, because of not knowing, right? Because of not understanding what these teams are capable of in a stronger tournament, in a tournament where some pieces have moved, right? Especially on Orlando B. There's some moving pieces right now. I'm gonna have to put them on the outside looking in. With these type of teams, right? Like you have to understand when you're making these rankings, you know, one of my good friends always tells me you're gonna have to base things off of teams that haven't changed much. There's not much variables, right? Like teams that stick together usually tend to keep the same exact progress or have the same amount of success year in year out because they're learning together, right? They're figuring it out, and something that clicks in one tournament might click in another tournament. And it's one of those things, right? Like where a team with the least amount of changes usually succeeds. So with Orlando B that has a few big changes, right? United Stars B maybe not so much, but other teams are changing around them. So it's like one of those things where like there's more competition added on. They're for me on the outside looking in. At that point, you talk about teams that are created and you don't really know what's going on. Is London Lions, right? Everyone's heard about London Lions, a mix of some Dynamo guys and some guys from Haderi and Bilal Kaba. I had to mention him once in my podcast, right? That team, a lot of question marks. We don't know what they're going to look like. So I got to have them on the outside looking in, even though I feel like their talent could definitely put them in the top eight, just like United Stars B, just like Orlando B. And Orlando B, those are my guys, right? But, I got to look at, how stacked this tournament is. And I'm going to get there. Another team that's new that, we don't really know much about. We've heard a lot of good things about. I know Muhammad Agent very well. I've played against him many times. I know how good these guys are. They play that other style of volleyball that Lambada and Usman Lambada and Amir Dax come from, but we don't know much about them, so we don't know how they're gonna be able to fit into the system. Understand where they really rank. We got to really look at them first to know that, and I haven't been able to look at them. All I've heard is that they're really damn good. They played really well in Toronto. They're practicing with all these teams. And so I got to have Toronto Warriors, a team that possibly could be in that top eight for sure. But I got to have them on the outside looking in just because I don't know what they're truly all about. And then you have a team that you kind of know what it's all about. It's Van City. And Van City squeaked into the top eight in Minnesota. They made the top eight, obviously, in Orlando. I think they were the sixth seed, if I'm not mistaken. So, or around there, somewhere around there. But I think when you look at them, you're like, maybe they definitely can make it in. But if you look at the other teams that I'm going to mention, those guys just have that. I talked about historical background, right? Been there, done that type of thing. What have you done for me lately? A lot of these guys have done a lot of big things lately, right? And talent wise, right? A lot of these teams are stacked. If you're coming to New York, you're trying to stack your team. I mean, that's just, it is what it is. Now, on the flip side, Van City has some additions, right? They have some additions. They have, some new formations from what I hear. They're trying to change things up too. So you don't know their growth level. I mean, they could be growing as a team and then they hit it. They find their mark this tournament. And they're easily in the top 8. But for now, I'm going to have them on the outside looking. And again, if you look at what have you done for me lately, they squeaked in the quarters. They haven't had that many good quarterfinal showings. So for now, I'm gonna in a tournament like this, I'm gonna have to have them on the outside looking in. Even Allentown Challengers, a team that from what I'm hearing, right, like they're on the outside looking in because you just don't know what you're gonna get. But young team, Sammy's there. I think they're building the team around him. Got guys like Tahir Mali, got Mehdi Ali. You got Ali Raz Sunasra. But a new team, like you just don't know what you're going to get when everybody comes together. We saw remnants of them, I mean, we saw some of them in Minnesota, and some of those same guys are now playing in this team too. But you just don't know. You don't know what you're going to get. So I can't put them in yet, but they could easily prove me wrong, and they probably will. I mean, there's a chance that Ziddy kills it. You know, Sammy's back. All these young guys have something to prove. Hadi, they could come in and just light the world on fire. So, you just don't know what you're gonna get. But I have to admit that it's scary. It's a scary thought to think young guys with that much talent around Sammy. I mean, hopefully, the renaissance of on Allentown Challengers is now. And then I'll start from 8, and I'll go to 1. And again, uh, difference of opinions is healthy. I'd love to discuss this with you guys. Anybody got a problem, you want to talk, I'm always available. You can hit me up, message me. I love volleyball conversations. I love volleyball dialogue. But I'm going to start at number 8 with North. A tough decision to put them at 8, but I think because they won the one in 2018, but that team is so different. Now, granted, they have Jamil, they have Fayaz, they have Abbas, they have remnants of that 2018 team, but they also have a lot of changes. And when we're talking about, again, the variables, right? You're adding guys on the team with guys who have experience, who have won, with an all is smiley team, which is super cool, I think, right? In a way, we're trying to bring back a smiley volleyball. I understand the concept of it because there are a lot of guys out there that we don't get to see. And now North is bringing those guys into the light. They're getting that exposure. You don't know what's going to happen. It could change a lot of things for them. But man, Toronto North, you got to have them there. I mean, they're North, right? They always find a way, and they're always in that 8. And even in Minnesota, when they didn't have, I think their best cards, they found a way in. In Orlando, they didn't have their best cards. They found a way in. And so now you got Abbas Kinji, Fayaz, Jamil. The core is there. Zishan, I believe, is there. Zishan Banji. And you add Samir from Calgary. You add Altaz, right? A lot of people are talking about Altaz. You add Adam Seedy, right? Adam Seedy played for them in Minnesota. But Adam Seedy had just started out. Maybe he's been in this game for a year or two, right? Now he's finally getting his bearings. I'm sure he's understanding the game. He got to taste what a real, like, one of our tournaments was like. And he's become a part of that core now, right? Like he's slowly trying to integrate and try to find his footing. So you add guys like that, and now there's talent. There's some new pieces. There's a little more youth. And you got a guy in Altaz who's trying to prove something, I think. Altaz maybe found some newfound confidence in CIG, where he played amazing. I think he's maybe a newfound love, passion, and now he's going to try to come and acclimate himself on a team like Toronto North, who's been there, done that, and maybe they can put him in the right position to succeed. And he's going to come in and probably look at this talent and be like, wow, okay, fine. I got to step my game up a little bit. And Altaz is that guy, right? Like he's done it. He's had the craziest upset when he was playing with Minnesota and Imran Waji and Matham against Orlando in the Arcade tournament. He's been down that road before. So I think for Altaz, for Samir, for Adam Seedy. This is a chance to really acclimate yourself with a team that you can possibly be going to tournaments with year in, year out. Um, and then you got, you know, I don't know if anybody's been watching Jai with Munna, but he just released an interview with Seedy. And CD talked about, CD the legend, one of my favorite players, my favorite Ismaili player growing up. I mean, just I try to mimic every part of his game. And I don't know if CD will ever hear this, but CD, if you do hear this, all love for you, man. I know you talked about your cancer scare, and we lost Tagaro like that, and we every time you hear that, you get scared. We lost Faisal like that, but I heard you're doing better. We're praying for you. We love you, and we hope to see you somewhere back on the court somehow, some way. Hopefully in New York. I don't know, but we really do miss seeing you on the court. And again, one of my favorite player growing up. And I talk about it all the time. Rob and I would always debate. He was a Tagaro guy. I was a CD guy. But CD talked about it, right? These guys are trying to prove something. Altaz is trying to, he's trying to get his game up there. Adam, his son, he's falling in love with the game, trying to figure it out. So I think North is coming in with they're finding the right group of people to maybe jive. And you got Fayez, you got Abbas, you got Jamil, you got Zishan. The core is there. The rest of the guys, they're going to fill in, try to find a spot, make their mark, and then hopefully that team is a team that we get to see coming year in, year out to tournaments. If anybody hasn't watched any of Altaz's games recently, but go watch the CIG videos. I think Mun Uncle put them up. They're wonderful to see, just to see that their style of volleyball, like how different it is. And Altaz back on the court, and just you watch guys like Zubair, and it's fun, man. It's a lot of fun. Samir from Stars in that final played amazing. So it was just nice to watch that, and to see their style. So if you haven't watched any of Altaz's videos recently or anything like that, go watch that. You'll see Fayez in there. You'll see Abbas in there. They play in the semis, I believe. So that's number 8. Number 7, old is gold, man. Old is gold, and veterans and guys that have done it before, and guys that are, just year in, year out. They're there. They know how to make it. They understand the rigors of a round robin. They understand preserving their energy. And Jaffre's OG, as OG and veteran as they possibly are, they're gonna find a way to make it in because of just that sheer talent, understanding, reading the game, understanding what games you need to play 100% in, and some games you can take the game off and know you're gonna win because you're gonna preserve yourself for the big games. And so when you sit there and you look at Jaffre's OG and you got Mun Uncle, you got Hasnain Gigi, you got Mehboob Gigi, you got all these guys. I believe Adil Moledina's on that team. So they have, the best netty in the game, one of the best netties in the game. And then you go ahead and look at their additions. And, again, rumor mill is rumor mill, but additions wise, they got Akil Hemraj from Dubai. Rumor has it that he's joining Jaffre's OG. You got Amil. Amil, a mainstay in many teams, right? He's played for Vancouver. He's played for, Port Moody. He's played for Britannia. He's played for North most recently. And you look at Amel and he's going to bring something to the table for these guys. And then you look at, there's rumors, and I just confirmed it actually right before I got on the podcast. There's a guy making his return who has been the voice of volleyball on the court, and we've missed him. And always a wonder to play against, always wonderful to watch, always makes the game so exciting. And that's the man who created Tutse, right? Monty's back. And so you got a group of guys that, like I said, they've done it. Monty's been with Stars and he's done it. Amil's done it with North. It's just, what you're gonna get. And so I think, with that team, because of their expertise and understanding of just got to try to make it in. And once you make it in, anything can happen, man. You get the right matchup. And especially in a tournament like this, where I believe the round robin isn't going to be one of those where teams will run away and are going 15-1, 14-1, whatever, 14-2. I think this is going to be one of those round robins where it's going to be convoluted. Like one guy's going to beat that guy, one guy's going to beat that guy, and all of a sudden, It's going to be guys that are six that are not supposed to be six, guys that are fourth that are not supposed to be fourth, because matchups make fights, right? So styles make fights, and so there's going to be so many matchups that stylistically they're going to be so off that teams are going to win. And a 15-minute game in a round robin, you never know. We all know that. So Jaffre's OG coming at 7 for me. At 6, Stanmore Jaffre's. And a lot of people would say, man, Stanmore Jaffre's just were in the finals in Dubai. Stanmore Jaffre's, they got to the semifinals in Orlando. But I think that's a different Stanmore Jaffre's team. We talk about variables, we talk about changes. No Muts Blue, no Faz. A hole that has to be filled with Muts Blue not being there. You know, more of a load for a lot of people to carry now because Muts Blue wasn't there and Faz is not there. So Cali gets his chance, and what happens to Elegance, and what happens to Abasali, and Kumi has moved to the right, and so you look at a team like that and you say, man, there's a lot of variables there. They're talented, of course. That's why they're going to be in the top 8 and potentially top 5. For me, they're 6 because of those variables. For me, they're 6 because I don't think people realize how much Muts Blue is going to be missed, man. Like Muts Blue was a key piece of that team, and now you take that away. Look at Faz, right? Faz with all his potions, right? Who's going to give him the potions? I mean, he's not there. And all of a sudden, like, you got to fill those spots. And those guys, man, we talk about glue guys. Muts Blue is a glue guy. He just looks like he makes everything work, right? He has that chemistry with his brothers that works. Faz, glue guy. Faz comes in and out whenever you need him. Like, he just does the dirty work and he's good. Doesn't care for the credit, doesn't care for anything else. Just wants to make sure everyone's cool. And so you miss some of those guys, and now your dynamic changes, your pool of players change. I do hear that there's a 15-year-old kid. I mean, I've seen some videos of him that apparently is going to be playing on this team that has a boatload of talent. So hopefully we see some new faces and somebody that is going to help them and maybe bring a new dynamic level to their team. But yeah, you look at Stanmore and you go, man, they're so damn good, but they also have a lot of missing pieces and a lot of changes. So Stanmore for me comes in at number 6. Number 5, Jaffre's 2.0. And Jaffre's 2.0 was tough for me because I really do believe they can be in the semis for sure, a top 4 team for sure. But when I look at Jaffre's 2.0, you know what you're going to get with Kizer, with Nick, with Abbas Rai, with Mason, with Sahil, with Sakib. But there are going to be times where you don't know the dynamic. Does Kizer stay in the front? Does Kizer go to the back? What happens with Nick? Who's being lifted to? You look at all these different things and you're like, you don't know what you're going to really get, but you can't count Kizer out ever. We know that. You can't count Nick out. I mean, we counted him out in Stanmore, and he taught us a lesson. So there's so many teams out there that you're going to look at and you're going to wonder what they're all about. But when you look at the talent pool of Jaffre's 2.0, you know what they're all about. Can it work? Can they mesh? You're taking guys from Toronto Hadri's back into 2.0, which is like Abbas Rai. You got a steady guy who's one of the steadiest players in the game, Mason Morali. You got Kizer, firepower. You got Nick, firepower. You got Sahil, up and coming. You got Sakib, one of the best nets in the game. So, yeah, I mean, they're young, they're raw, they're fired up. They want it more probably than most, right? So for that reason, they're scary. For that reason, they're probably, could easily be 4-3-2-1. But for now, I'm going to keep them at 5 because, again, you just don't know what you're going to get. In Edmonton, they had a great showing. In Albuquerque, I believe they won it all, right? So you're expecting big things. You just want to see it before you put anything above them, right? Like you don't want to. You're gonna go with what you know, but from what I can tell and what I can see, they have all the talent to even win the tournament. So for me right now, Jaffre's 2.0 at number 5. At number 4, just we talk about variables, we talk about changes, we talk about teams that have been in it together for a long time. And for me, a team like this who has done damage in the last tournament in Minnesota, a home court tournament for them, almost taking out Orlando. Before that, bottom of the barrel, finding its way into the play-in, finding its way into the finals. I mean, Minnesota Jaffrey's, you got to give it to them. Um, they they're special. They're special, and not only are they special, they get Imran Walji back, a person they didn't have in Minnesota. The last time they had Imran Walji, they were in a final in Orlando. They get that back, mainstay, steady, just a good vibe, right? Just a veteran piece that you know can play anywhere at any time. You got Matham, who had his first tournament in center, probably like just on its own, just with that good of a team, and he learned, I'm sure, and was only getting better. I just played with him the other day, still freaking amazing. Um, you got guys who understand their roles. Nick Num understands his role, had an amazing tournament in Dubai. Yassine, who I just played with, also just getting better and better. Al Batoush, Mohammed Al Batoush, just got the medallion last tournament. You know he's going to be amazing. Irfan Kassam, you know he's going to be amazing. But you always looked at that front right for them as like, that's the spot you can kind of attack, right? Because they didn't have a steady player there that they can put. They were putting guys in and out. They had KLJ playing there, Kamalaka Jr. They had Mikhail Mullah playing there. They had last year Mr. Raj Bachani playing there. And those guys played amazing because they obviously did really well. But those were not their natural positions. They were just kind of filling a void. And I think they finally found that guy. And I'm going to tell you guys, keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes open because I think Ali Saleh Muhammad is going to be the next big thing in Minnesota. I've always said the kid had game. I've always said that the kid was special. He just didn't care enough. It's one of those things that like you got all the talent, but the guy doesn't care, and you're upset because you're like, people would die for that talent. You know what I mean? And you got a guy now who is dynamic. He's athletic. He's gifted in many ways. I've seen him flight the ball. I've seen him float the ball. I've seen him jump and hit with power. I think he makes the difference. For me, Ali Saleh Muhammad in the front right now has officially completed the rebuild. Like it's done now. Like they got the guy. And I'm not trying to put too much pressure on him, but I am saying that he just got to fit the puzzle. And he's that piece that could fit that puzzle. And I'm telling you, keep your eyes open for him because I think he's that damn good. And people just haven't noticed him because he hasn't been around. He hasn't been in the limelight. And now he's going to be. So for me, Minnesota, number 4, they're going to be there. I think they're in the semis. And I think I said it last time. If there's any time to make a run now's the time. You're not going to get this window for too long. At some point, pieces are going to start to come off your team, and for various reasons. You got your core. You got the 8 guys, 10 guys you want to play with. You got the veterans. You got everything, man. You got Imran back. Minnesota, this is yours, man. Finish the story. This is it. Finish the story. Cody Rhodes style. Number 3, home court advantage, right? We've never not, again, going back to saying my time in New York Union, we've never not made the semis in a New York tournament. We've been to 2 finals. I mean, it's home, it's sport time, it's a place where New York is very comfortable. They always do well there. Any test they have, they always tend to find a way past it, even if their quarters is tough, even if their semis is tough. We find a way to manage. And again, I think that's a lot of home court. I think that's a lot of just, being comfortable there, being comfortable in your own environment. And I think with the additions that they have now, alongside some of the changes they have the ability to make. So you look at their team last time, right? They had Anu no longer is playing with them. He's playing on Orlando B. But Yasser finds his groove, wins the medallion, finds his groove, right? He's back. You got Shane, comfortable, right? You just know where you're going to get out of him. You got Bode, Mr. Reliable. He's just always going to be Bode. But then you bring back Imran Murji. Imran Murji has not played in a tournament since 2022 in Stanmore. So it'll be about 2 years since he's been back. And, 2 years since he's last played. And Imran Murji was, people don't realize, one of the biggest pieces in what we were doing. Because Imran Murji, while Bode kind of knew who was going to be in front of him, it was going to be Yasser most of the time. Imran Murji never knew. Imran Murji had Face D in front of him. Imran Murji had Mo Khalfan in front of him. Imran Murji had Mo Jaxi in front of him. Imran Murji had a plethora of players just rotating out in front of him, and he just had to make do with whatever was there. He didn't. He never had a chance to build chemistry. He never had a chance to do any of that stuff. And so he had a boatload of pressure, but man, he carried it. And he has a killer serve, and just his attitude towards the game. Like he just believes he's going to win every game. He believes he's going to return every ball. And those people that slept on him, I think a lot of people slept on him because New York was never, we never won a championship. I think if New York won a championship, Imran Murji and Bode, Mujtaba Murji, the two cousins, their first cousins, they would go down as one of the best defensive players of our era. But because we never won, they were never looked at like that. And now people are looking at Bode and going, wow, Bode, he's amazing, blah, blah, blah. Bode's always been this good. Now you're looking at Imran Murji. I'm telling you, this time you're going to be like, damn, Imran Murji got game. Because you're going to see, man, the guy is back into the fold. He's back into the mix, how much he meant to this team. But within all that comes the dynamic of Jaxie and Sahil. Jaxie, the guy who's, consistent and just, plays his game and understands that, the team understands what you're going to get from him. He doesn't surprise you in any way. He doesn't give you something you don't know you're going to get. Every game is the same with him, right? He's going to make minimal mistakes. He's going to give you a chance every time. None, unlike me, I made a lot of mistakes. I gave you a chance, but I made a lot of mistakes. Jaxie's the opposite. It's just float, 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 keep you in that game, But then you got the young guy in Sahil, who at any time, if they want to make a switch, if they want to have two hitters, they can do whatever they want now because they have Sahil, who's young, dynamic, kind of like me, right? Jumping, he's okay with making those mistakes. He wants to take the risk. Jaxie's risk averse, right? And that was always the difference. But they have that now. They can actually go into the bag and take that out, whenever they need it. And they have many times, right? In the last few tournaments. And then you look at the addition. We talk about Yasser being back. We talk about Imran Murji being back. But I think nothing is bigger than this man right here. And that is Ahmad Sumar. Ahmad Sumar has showcased his talents year in, year out. We've all talked about it. We all know what's going to happen, right? Like when Ahmad Sumar steps on the court, he's going to give you a game. Like whether you're watching, whether you're playing against him, you're going to get a game. And now he brings that gamer mentality out to New York Union, who he almost fits the puzzle just right, right? Like he's that veteran piece. He's a guy who's, again, reliable. He's a guy who still has so much game. And to be honest, if, he's getting an opportunity to play for a championship caliber team now who can make a run, it's his time. I mean, I think for him too, I speak to him all the time. I think anybody who talks to him understands that he knows he doesn't have much time. He knows that, the years are dwindling. And so he's got to make do with, take advantage of what he's gotten. And I think this is his tournament to do that. He's been going to practice in New York. He understands the court. He's played there against me for many years in practices and tournaments. He gets it. And he understands that he's playing for a team that has a core. He's playing for a team that has figured it out. He's playing for a team that has young pieces, that has older pieces, that has a mixture of that dynamic piece, right? With Sahil and Shane and Imran Murji and Bode and Jaxie. And, like he understands that he can fit this and they can make a crazy run. If they even get 75% of Ahmad Sumar, the Ahmad Sumar we know, dude, I think they're in the semis, and I think that whoever they face, good luck to you. Like, good luck to you, because I know New York in a semifinal in their hometown on that one court. We all know New York only plays on that one court. Tough to beat. Tough to beat. Scary proposition. But yeah, that's my take on New York. I love those guys, man. I think they're gonna do fantastic. But anything short of a semifinal for me is a disappointment. And I've said this in my last podcast, and people have talked about it with me. New York should be making that semis. That's without a doubt. We've never fallen short of that before. Going to number two, again, the top two we all kind of know, right? And I'm gonna base it off the last tournament, the tournament before that. Orlando wins 2022. A lot of people say they were supposed to, right? We go play in Minnesota and run through that round robin. only to get a hiccup in that semifinal to now versus Stars, and Stars get the better of us. And so you start to realize, okay, Stars are this, they have this foundation, they have this team that's not changing. Orlando has this team, it's not changing. This is their third tournament now, right? The same core, right? The same group of guys. Those guys usually, like I said, those guys who stick around, stick together, they figure it out. And I think us two have the best chances of making the finals. I'm not saying no team is going to come and take us out in a quarterfinal or a semifinal. I'm not saying that. I'm saying if I had to put my money on something, chances are, yeah, we'll probably meet again. And if we do meet again, I think it's going to be even better than it was last time, right? It's going to be better and better every time we meet because these are two teams, again, that the core is just remain the same. The team, the 10 guys, 12 guys that are there, they're remaining the same. And it's scary because when two teams remain the same and they're playing each other, it's just a matter of number one, whose day it is. Number two, who's got the luck that day, which way does the ball roll? And number three, who's going to come out with that strategy that's different? Who's going to come out with that, oh yeah, I remember what you did last time. I'm going to one up that. And then you're going to one up that. And I've said this before. This could be a trilogy. This is going to be number two, potentially if we meet. I could see 3, 4, 5, 6. Like I could see this happening for years. I'm not saying no one else is going to come and, but I can see us meeting time and time again. With that being said, Orlando comes in defeated, with a chip on their shoulder. They win Orlando. They're on a high. We're on a high. We get into Minnesota. We're on a high for the first 3 days, 2 days, and then we get shell shocked. And I think this tournament we're gonna be like, okay, same team, new challenge, new mentality, more hunger, back to it. And for me, I don't want to make this about me, but me, Safe, Musti, we want to win in New York. We made that our goal. If that's one thing we want to check off our list, that's the one thing we want to win in New York. And I would tell you this from the conversations I've had with some of our guys. They want to win New York because New York is that stamp of approval. New York is that you've done it. Like you can win every other tournament, but New York is like, okay, you beat the best of the best. For guys like Freddie and Alyeska who've already tasted winning, I think New York for them is like, yeah, like I need to do that in my career. For the front line, who has won multiple times, I think for them it's like, yeah, we need to do that. It's New York. They've come so close so multiple times. The Netties, Musti, Ari, like they all want to do it. And they all want to win New York. And just like me, man, I want to win New York so bad. Like it's just, I've always wanted to check that off my bucket list. And so for me, for the rest of the guys, like I said, a newfound passion and love and want to win and winning away from home. And, people discounting home wins, right? So you look what Stars did. They won away from home, and that's why their win just feels that much better. But now you're winning when everyone is there. Like there's no excuses. Like everyone is there. No one can tell you, well, oh, that team wasn't there and that team was there. No, no, no. Everyone's here, bro. Everyone and their mama. Everybody is here. And so that's the one that I think that Orlando wants. They've always wanted it. And a lot of us Orlando guys are from New York. A lot of the core from Orlando is from New York. Nothing would feel better than coming to New York, coming home for a lot of our guys and winning there. Even Hilal Virgi is from New York. Albany, New York. He'll probably never tell you that, but New York, streets of New York, baby, streets of Albany. We go to number one, and you got to give it to them. And they are cream of the crop, top of the heap. They're the best, man. They're the best right now. And until somebody beats them and takes them off that throne, they're on that throne. And that is Toronto United Stars. Look, team stays the same. If anything, they've gotten more confident. If anything, they've gelled even more. If anything, they're just going to come in with a new mentality where it's like, bro, we've beaten everybody. We're just going to come and try to do it again and again and again. Just this time stronger, better, faster. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like they're just a well-oiled machine and they have every piece. I was talking to somebody today. They have every piece. Every piece has played a role in their wins. Every piece has has done something that has and I talk about stars and I want to mention them as it's a renaissance era for them. Durab finding a new groove at his age. Usman Lambada finding a new role and groove at his age. Imran Nasser coming back from a hiatus and finding his role. Jabir Ali Dina, who was counted out and now counted back in as one of the goats of defense, finding his Irfan Kamali renaissance, right? Everyone has found a role. Even Samir. People don't understand. Watch the final. Samir, Riaz Chamsi. How many balls did they save? How many crucial points did they take or not give? They they have it all. And now you have Swaggy, who's one of the better netties in the game, best netties in the game. You have somebody coming back who also wants a renaissance, who also people have looked up to, have modeled their game after, who has been part of many United Stars, Toronto Union Championship runs, and that is Conan. Conan is back, and not only does he bring a different element in terms of safety and feeling good and just a good vibes, but he has that veteran, he has that mindset. Like every time I played with Conan many years, every time you talk to Conan, he just knows the game. He reads the game. He understands the game, and you're just adding another piece that's going to help. And you for me, that team is just too stacked. Like every area you look at it in Minnesota's tournament. You look at it now with now adding a third netty in Conan in case anybody goes down, in case anything happens. Conan comes in, gives the netties a break. Um, you're it's crazy, man. It's crazy. Even if you watch the dynamic, right, of the team, like they just in Minnesota, you can find them at times looking for their bearings, understanding what makes sense, what doesn't, what formation's right, what's not. And then at the end, they just click so well that now you're scared because now they're gonna come in like, yeah, we already know what we're good at. We already know our game plan. We already know that we can hang for minutes on end in a rally. And it's a scary thought. It's a scary thought. Raheem and net, if you watch Raheem and the way he plays and the way he lifts to Usman, and then Swaggy and Conan are going to be lifting to Thrub. Watch that dynamic. Watch the videos. You'll see it, man. You'll see it. You'll see that it's very rhythmic. And a team like that is scary. So to me, Star stays at number one, obviously, even, with just now, they've just had an addition. Like, it's just crazier that they're getting stronger, if anything, with Conan on board. So that's my 8 teams. And look, if you look at it, it's scary because the matchups that you get based off of this ranking, and I know everyone wants to play fantasy booker and all that. Hey, what do you think is going to happen? Who's your top 4? Who's your top 8? Let's look at matchups. But let's run down these matchups for a second, okay? 1-8 is Stars North. Stars North is 1 versus 8. If this scenario clicks, if this scenario happens, meaning Usman Lambada goes and Amir Dak go up against the guys that they won in 2018 with, right? Then you look at 2-7, which is Orlando Union A versus Jaffre's OG. So you get the rivalry that has thrilled the entire world for the last 10 years of volleyball. The Hussein Gigi, the Munna Gigi, the Mehboob Gigi versus the Orlando, core. Like that rivalry has legit carried volleyball into this era. And you get that in a quarterfinal. Like that is insanity, right? Then you look at 3-6, and it's New York Union versus Stanmore. The last time New York Union versus Stanmore took place, quite possibly the best quarterfinal in Orlando, where New York Union took Stanmore to 3 games. Sile Darcy gets his limelight. Everyone sees who he is. Like, if anybody watched those 3 games, bro, if you're getting that again in a quarterfinal, 3-6, Stanmore versus New York, you're in for it. Get your popcorn ready. It's going to be a battle. And, like, flip the coin, bro. Like, what's going to happen? Home court advantage maybe goes to New York, right? But we saw it in Orlando. It was a flip of a coin. Like, anybody could have taken that set. And now you get New York versus Orlando, New York versus Stanmore in a quarterfinal, man. Like, when can you sit back and say quarterfinals have looked this good? 1-8, 2-7, 3-6, and then you go to 4-5. Minnesota versus 2.0. Like 2.0 had this like a form of themselves in Edmonton. And they gave Banff boys a tough time in the semifinal. Minnesota went to that same tournament, gave Banff boys a tough time in that final. These two teams now are going to meet. Both teams 2 years later, both teams with additions, both teams newfound confidence, obviously, getting better year in, year out. Imagine that quarterfinal. I mean, dude, just look at this tournament. 1-8 Stars and North, 2-7 Orlando OGs, 3-6 New York Stanmore, 4-5 Minnesota, and 2.0. I mean, just, bro, who can even predict these? Who can even predict what's going to happen in any of these? I don't know. I could say all three of those. I could see each one of those going 3 games. And I think everyone can. So here we are. Just excited, ready to go. I hope this brings a little more hype, brings a little bit more of that frenzy back until our interview releases this weekend. I want to apologize again for being away for a month, but we're back. We're better than ever, and you're going to see a lot of new things coming out. Before I go, 2 forms of hoodies going to be sold in New York. So be on the lookout. It's going to be really cool. New York Union collab with Lifted, and then 1 Lifted hoodie. Number 2, Lifted Studio coming soon with some local interviews. So you'll see that shortly in a couple of weeks, hopefully. And then number 3, some news for the end of the year. Again, we'll talk about it after New York is done, but something is in the works for the end of the year. And then number 4, look out, stay here, look out on our Instagram, subscribe to our channel. The format, rules, a lot of things are going to be discussed soon. Bore's on a trip. He's vacationing before things get crazy. And so once he's back, we're going to sit down and we're going to discuss all this. And you might know things before your flight. So it's going to be fun, interesting. Anyways, I love you all. Good night. And I think that it's going to be a crazy, crazy month, man. Crazy month. Get ready. We got practice tonight. I'm excited. It's everyone's like, this is the time where everyone's calling each other, and look, if I'd hurt anybody's feelings in any of these listings, I apologize. I know there are teams that I left out, not purposefully, we're looking at what makes sense, what's new, what's not. But yeah, man, get ready. It's going to be exciting. Good night, everybody. And I love you all.